The sun of the alien planet Glathar reflected off the polished crystal towers of the royal palace, making them shimmer like liquid silver. Alex stepped through the grand entrance, his boots clicking softly against the smooth floor. He had never been to a place like this. Everything felt immense, tall ceilings, walls carved with glowing symbols, and corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. The air was thick with the scent of unfamiliar flowers and something metallic that hinted at advanced technology. He had come as a human diplomat, invited to witness a rare ceremony where the alien queen would present her child to the court. It was an honor, but also terrifying. Humans were rare in Glathar, and the alien nobles did not always welcome outsiders. He straightened his shoulders and reminded himself to stay calm. The main hall was massive, filled with creatures of all shapes and colors. Some had smooth, shining skin, while others had scales or feathery textures. Many had multiple eyes, some even on their hands or foreheads. The variety of life forms was staggering, yet they moved with an organized grace, all turning their attention toward the royal stage at the far end. On the stage, a small figure appeared. It was the alien queen's child. Even from a distance, Alex could see the child's large, expressive eyes and delicate features. The child's skin had a soft green shimmer that glowed faintly under the palace lights. Around the child stood attendants, tall and imposing, keeping a careful watch. The queen herself followed behind, regal and radiant, her presence commanding silence in the hall. Her eyes, deep and sharp, scanned the crowd and finally landed on Alex. He felt a strange mix of nervousness and resolve. This was a moment that could change how humans were seen here. Suddenly, a murmur ran through the hall. The child had stopped walking with the attendants and was looking around frantically. Then, without warning, the little figure bolted forward. Gasps filled the room. The child ran straight toward Alex, ducking behind him as if instinctively knowing he would be safe. Time seemed to freeze. Every eye in the hall turned to the human standing frozen with the queen's child clinging to him. Even the attendants hesitated, unsure how to respond. The child pressed close, hiding completely behind Alex's legs, and peeked out with wide, terrified eyes. Alex's mind raced. He had no idea why the child ran to him, but his instincts took over. Kneeling slightly, he whispered softly, "It's okay. You're safe here. No one will hurt you." His voice, calm and gentle, seemed to have a strange effect. The child relaxed slightly, letting go of a trembling grip. The queen herself stepped forward, her eyes narrowing with both curiosity and confusion. She had never seen her child behave this way. No alien in the palace had ever earned such trust from her heir in an instant. "Why," she whispered almost to herself. Her voice carried authority, but also something softer, a rare trace of concern that even Alex noticed. He dared not answer aloud, only smiled reassuringly at the child. The court was in an uproar. Whispers spread like wildfire. "A human?" One noble gasped. "The child trusts a human?" Another asked, voice edged with disbelief. Some of the older advisors exchanged worried glances, muttering about protocol and the possible consequences of such a breach of tradition. Alex remained calm, letting the child stay close. He gently extended a hand to the small being who hesitated, then tentatively reached out and held it. The simplicity of the gesture seemed to calm both the child and the hall. The attendants, recovering from their shock, approached slowly, hands raised to guide the child back. But Alex shook his head slightly, his eyes meeting theirs firmly. He would not let anyone take the child until the queen herself spoke. The room fell silent again, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. The queen moved closer, her regal robes flowing with each step. She knelt just slightly, bringing her gaze level with her child and Alex. "Explain this," she said, her voice commanding yet measured. "Why does my child hide behind you?" Alex did not hesitate. "I don't know why your child chose me," he said gently, "but I promise to protect them. That is all I want to do." The queen's eyes widened. The court held its breath. Such words from a human, simple, honest, and brave, were unusual in Glathar. No one had ever spoken to her child with such calm certainty. Slowly, the child peeked around Alex's legs again. A small, almost imperceptible smile appeared on the young face. It was the first sign that the child was starting to feel safe. Alex knelt a little lower, lowering himself to appear less threatening. He whispered, "See? Nothing will hurt you. You can stay here with me as long as you need." The queen watched silently, fascinated and cautious. The bond forming between Alex and her child was something new, something unpredictable. No protocol, no palace rule could explain it. Even the advisors were unsure how to respond. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours. The child began to relax, standing a little taller, still close to Alex. He offered a small hand to the queen. "It's okay," Alex said softly. "She won't hurt you." The child reached toward the queen cautiously, glancing at Alex for reassurance. The queen's expression softened, and for the first time, she saw the human not as an outsider but as a protector, someone who could be trusted with her most precious treasure. A ripple of murmurs ran through the hall. The nobles were stunned. Guards lowered their weapons slightly, unsure whether to intervene or step back. Some whispered, "This human, he is different." Others, more conservative, frowned and shook their heads. Alex could feel the weight of every gaze, but he remained calm. Every step, every word, every gesture mattered. He realized that trust, bravery, and empathy, qualities humans often relied on, were now on display before the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Finally, the queen spoke, her voice steady but carrying awe. "Very well. You may stay near my child, for now." Her words echoed through the hall, carrying authority and shock in equal measure. Alex nodded respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty." "I will not fail." The child let out a quiet sigh of relief, clinging briefly to Alex's arm. For the first time in the palace that day, a sense of calm settled over the room. The courtiers whispered quietly among themselves, some in admiration, some in disbelief, and some with worry about what this might mean for their future. The queen, however, remained focused on Alex. She had seen something she had never expected. A human, far from his world, instinctively protecting her child. It was a display of courage, kindness, and intelligence that no alien had demonstrated before. In that moment, Alex understood something profound. He was not just a visitor. He had become a symbol of what humans could offer: trust, empathy, and bravery, even in the face of uncertainty and fear. The palace may have been shocked, but this was only the beginning of a bond that could change everything. And as the sun set over the palace towers, casting long shadows across the hall, one thing was certain: the day the alien queen's child ran and hid behind a human would never be forgotten. The palace had quieted, but the tension in the air was far from gone. The nobles whispered behind folded hands, exchanging glances that carried both curiosity and unease. Alex stood near the alien queen's child, who still clung to his arm, eyes wide and alert. The court was not accustomed to a human earning such immediate trust, and that fact alone caused ripples of discussion throughout the massive hall. The queen remained on the stage, her gaze fixed on Alex and the child. Her attendants hovered nearby, ready to step in if needed, but hesitated. Something about the calm confidence radiating from Alex made them pause. The child looked up at him and spoke in a soft, melodic voice that Alex could barely understand. Yet the meaning was clear through gestures and expressions. "Don't let them take me," the child whispered. Alex nodded reassuringly. "I won't. You're safe with me." A small smile flickered across the child's face, and for a moment, the grand hall felt less like a palace and more like a safe space carved out amidst the alien splendor. The whispers of the nobles grew louder. Some were impressed, murmuring, "The human truly understands the child. He is not like the others." Others were skeptical. "He is bold. Too bold," muttered one elder advisor, a long-necked alien with amber skin. "What right does he have to be here in such proximity to the heir?" Alex ignored the whispers and focused on the child, who was beginning to relax, pressing closer to him as if sensing protection. He instinctively placed a hand on the child's shoulder and gently guided them to a small seating area on the side of the stage, away from the center of attention but still within view of the queen. The queen approached slowly, her flowing robes rustling softly with each step. Her eyes, which had been sharp and piercing, softened slightly as she regarded Alex. She knelt carefully, keeping her distance but bringing herself to the child's level. "Child," she said, her voice melodic yet firm, "why do you trust this human?" The child looked up at her, still holding Alex's hand. Their eyes were wide, filled with innocence and a quiet bravery. I don't know," the child said softly, almost trembling. "I just feel safe." The queen's expression was a mixture of surprise and confusion. In all her years, she had never seen her child behave this way. No alien, no matter how trusted, had ever inspired this level of instinctive trust. "This is highly unusual," one of the court advisors whispered to another. "The child trusts a human above all else. What does it mean?" Meanwhile, a few curious nobles stepped closer, trying to observe Alex's behavior. They noted how he stayed calm, how his gestures were gentle, and how he spoke in a quiet, soothing tone. There was no arrogance, no show of force, only a natural presence that seemed to command respect without demanding it. The child began to speak again, asking questions in a soft, hesitant voice. "Why are you here, human? What do you want from me?" Alex smiled gently. "I don't want anything from you. I only want to make sure you're safe. That's all." The child blinked, absorbing the words. "You really mean it?" "I do," Alex replied. "I promise." The court murmured again, but this time the tone had shifted. Some of the nobles nodded slowly, realizing that there was something unique about this human. Others still seemed wary, but they could not deny the child's obvious comfort. As the ceremony continued, the palace staff tried to maintain protocol, but every attempt to separate the child from Alex was met with quiet resistance. The child would cling tighter, hiding behind him again, refusing to be taken. Alex's calm demeanor and gentle reassurances created a small barrier of trust that no one could break. The queen, sensing the growing unrest among her court, decided to address it. "Let it be known," she declared, her voice resonant and commanding, "that this human may remain near my child for the time being. He shall be allowed to guide and protect as my child sees fit." Gasps filled the hall. Nobles whispered urgently to one another, some in shock, some in awe. A few guards exchanged uncertain glances, unsure how to respond to the queen's decision. Alex, however, simply nodded respectfully, keeping his focus on the child. The child looked up at Alex with relief. You really will stay with me?" "I will," Alex said softly. "As long as you need me." The queen observed the small exchange, a hint of something she had never expected flickering in her eyes. Perhaps there was more to humans than she had realized. Perhaps there were qualities in them that even the most advanced alien society could not replicate. Empathy, courage, and instinctive protection of the innocent. Over the next few hours, Alex and the child moved through the palace carefully. The court continued to watch them closely, some studying the human's every gesture, others simply marveling at the child's trust. Alex answered questions quietly, guided the child with care, and never allowed fear to dominate his actions. During a brief pause in the ceremony, one advisor approached cautiously. "Human," he said, his tone polite but tinged with skepticism. "How do you know how to handle the child so well?" Alex smiled. "I don't know how to explain it," he said honestly. "I just try to understand. I try to listen even without words. I protect those who cannot protect themselves." The advisor paused, studying Alex's calm demeanor. Slowly he nodded, though his expression remained uncertain. Perhaps there is more to humans than we have believed." Meanwhile, the child began to warm to Alex further. They walked together through the palace corridors, the child clutching Alex's hand tightly whenever someone came too close. Alex offered encouragement, guiding the child around guards and attendants while keeping them both safe. Each small act of protection deepened the bond between them, showing the court a side of humanity that few had witnessed. Courage paired with empathy. The queen observed silently, fascinated. She had expected fear, hesitation, perhaps even defiance from the human. Instead, she saw calm bravery, a quiet strength that commanded attention without arrogance. She realized that humans might hold a kind of power that her court had underestimated. By the end of the day, the court had begun to shift its opinion. While some remained skeptical, many began to see the human not as an outsider but as a protector. The child, once frightened and unsure, now held on to Alex with a sense of comfort and trust that astonished everyone. As the sun set outside the palace, casting warm golden light through the crystalline windows, Alex knelt beside the child one last time for the day. "We did well today," he said softly. "You were brave, and I'm proud of you." The child looked up, eyes shining. "I wasn't scared." "Because you were with me," Alex smiled. "Good. That's all I ever wanted, to make sure you feel safe." The queen, watching from the stage, allowed a small smile to cross her lips. She realized that the day had revealed something extraordinary. the strength of a human heart, capable of inspiring trust and courage even in a world far beyond Earth. The palace might have been shocked, and the court may have whispered endlessly about the events of the day, but Alex and the child had formed a bond that could not be broken. It was a beginning, a first step toward a deeper understanding between species, and a demonstration of qualities that made humans remarkable: bravery, empathy, and the ability to protect those who needed it most. And as the hall slowly emptied and the night fell over Glathar, one truth became clear. The alien queen's child had chosen to trust a human, and in doing so had begun a story that could change the course of her world forever. The morning light streamed through the palace's crystalline windows, casting patterns across the polished floors like rivers of gold. Alex stood in the grand hallway, the alien queen's child holding his hand tightly. The previous day's events had left a deep impression on everyone in the court. Whispers of the human's bravery and the child's trust spread quickly, and even distant courtiers were talking about the unprecedented bond forming between a human and the heir of Glathar. Yet, while most of the palace marveled at Alex's presence, a few watched him with unease. Some of the queen's advisors, long used to rigid control, were unsettled by a human gaining influence. They feared what it might mean for the child, the palace, and the future of the alien empire. These whispers of doubt slowly began to grow into something more dangerous. Alex noticed the subtle glances, the quiet exchanges of words he could not fully understand, and the way a few figures seemed to shadow their movements. But he remained calm. His focus was on the child, whose nervous fingers occasionally squeezed his hand as they navigated the corridors. "You are very brave," Alex said softly as they walked, "but we need to be careful. Some people may not understand why you trust me." The child nodded, eyes wide. I know, but I feel safe with you. I don't want to go back to them yet." Alex smiled gently. "You won't have to. I'll protect you." As they moved deeper into the palace, Alex noticed something unusual. A shadow shifted along the wall, moving faster than a normal guard would. He slowed down and crouched slightly, letting the child duck behind him. The figure paused and looked at them, eyes narrow before slipping silently out of sight. Alex's mind raced. He had not yet experienced danger here, but instinct told him something was wrong. Not all in the palace were pleased with a human so close to the heir. He realized that the child's trust had made them a target, even if the motives were unclear. The child looked up nervously. "Who is that?" "I don't know," Alex replied calmly. "But we need to stay alert. Sometimes people act out of fear or jealousy." They continued through a quiet wing of the palace, far from the main hall, where the walls were lined with glowing murals depicting the history of Glathar. Each scene told stories of battles, diplomacy, and powerful rulers. Alex glanced at them briefly, noting the determination and strength of the alien civilization. Yet even here, in this world of power and sophistication, human qualities, courage, empathy, and instinctive protection, were already making an impression. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed through the corridor. A whisper, hurried and urgent. Alex froze. He motioned for the child to stay close and listened carefully. The words were unfamiliar, alien in structure, but the tone carried warning. Someone was plotting, and their target was clearly the child. Alex's mind worked quickly. He had no weapons, no training in alien combat, but he had what humans often relied on: quick thinking, courage, and an ability to act when others hesitated. He moved toward a small side chamber, pulling the child gently behind him. The door was partially open, revealing a narrow space that could serve as temporary cover. "Stay here," Alex whispered. "No matter what, don't peek out." "Trust me," the child nodded, eyes wide but obedient. Alex pressed himself against the wall, listening. Footsteps approached, soft but deliberate. Two figures emerged from the shadows, their attention focused elsewhere, unaware of the human hiding nearby. Alex waited until they passed, then led the child silently along a secondary corridor that few in the palace used. As they moved, the child whispered, "Why? Why would anyone want to hurt me?" Alex crouched to meet their gaze. "Sometimes people are afraid of change," he said softly, "or they want power for themselves. But that doesn't mean we can't be careful and stay safe." The child nodded slowly, beginning to understand. "I trust you," they said quietly. "And I'll never betray that trust," Alex replied. They reached a small balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The air was fresh, scented with alien flowers and the metallic tang of distant machinery. Alex took a deep breath, allowing the child to lean slightly against him. For a moment, the palace seemed distant, a world of intrigue and potential danger set aside. But the sense of unease lingered. Alex knew this was only the beginning. Someone in the palace had seen the child's trust in a human and considered it a threat. They would act if given the chance. "Listen," Alex said, voice low but firm. "We need to be ready. You have to trust me completely no matter what happens." "Can you do that?" The child nodded, squeezing his hand tightly. "I trust you." That night, the palace settled into uneasy quiet. Alex and the child were placed in a guest chamber near the Queen's private quarters, supposedly for safety. Yet Alex could sense that even here they were not entirely alone. He spent hours examining the room, noting exits, potential hiding places, and ways to keep the child safe without alarming the palace guards unnecessarily. The child sat quietly, drawing in the alien language while Alex watched. "Do you like to draw?" Alex asked. The child nodded. "It helps me think." "You're very smart," Alex said, smiling. "And very brave. Don't forget that." They worked together to plan how they would move safely through the palace the next day. Alex taught the child simple signals to indicate danger or comfort, a silent language that would keep them connected even if others tried to intervene. The next morning, as they prepared to leave the chamber, Alex noticed the subtle signs again: shadows moving unnaturally, faint murmurs behind closed doors. It was clear the threat was real. Some members of the court were actively watching, perhaps plotting, perhaps testing him, but Alex's confidence never wavered. He had faced dangers before in different forms, and he knew that courage and quick thinking could make a difference. As they stepped into the hallway, the child held tightly to his hand. "I'm ready," the child said softly. "You've been ready all along," Alex replied. "We just need to stay smart." Their path took them past the grand hall where the court was gathering again. Alex's presence drew immediate attention. Whispers and curious glances followed them, but he walked with calm authority. The child, once timid and frightened, now moved with a quiet confidence, knowing they were protected. From the shadows, two figures watched, their faces hidden. They exchanged a brief, tense look before moving away silently, their intentions unclear but undoubtedly dangerous. Alex noticed just enough to understand that the palace intrigue was deepening, and that the next steps they took would be crucial. As the day progressed, Alex led the child through different parts of the palace, using his instincts to avoid potential threats. He found small paths and hidden corridors that most in the palace would never use, all while keeping the child close and reassured. Every act of careful guidance strengthened the trust between them, showing the court, those who were watching, that humans could inspire loyalty and courage in ways aliens often underestimated. By evening, they returned safely to their chamber. The child leaned against Alex, exhausted but calm. "You saved me today," the child whispered. "I only kept my promise," Alex replied. "No one will harm you while I'm here." That's a human's word. The Queen, observing from her private quarters, had begun to reconsider her understanding of humans. She had seen something extraordinary, a being from another world relying not on weapons or authority but on courage, empathy, and quick thinking. Alex had faced the subtle dangers of the palace and emerged not just unharmed, but stronger in the child's trust. As night fell over the palace, the stars of Gleithor shining brightly above, Alex and the child sat together quietly, knowing that the challenges ahead would not be easy. The palace was filled with intrigue, envy, and potential danger. But one truth was certain: together they could face it. Humans might be underestimated, but their courage, intuition, and loyalty were unmatched. And for the first time, the palace had seen it firsthand. The morning light filtered through the palace windows once more, bathing the grand halls in a soft glow. Alex stood near the alien queen's child, who clung to his side with a mixture of curiosity and trust. The events of the previous days had left the court in shock. Whispers of the child's bond with a human spread quickly, and now many eyes were watching their every move. Some were fascinated, others suspicious, but all could not deny the remarkable trust the child had placed in Alex. The Queen observed silently from her throne, her expression a mixture of curiosity, caution, and something new: respect. She had watched Alex navigate the palace, guide her child, and avoid subtle dangers, all without displaying arrogance or fear. His courage and calm presence were unlike anything she had seen from outsiders, and it was beginning to shift her perception. Alex knelt slightly to speak with the child. "We need to be careful today," he said softly. "Some people might not like how close we are, but that doesn't change anything. I'm here to keep you safe." The child nodded, eyes wide. "I trust you," they whispered. "No one else matters right now." Alex smiled gently. "Good. That's all that matters." The court was assembling for a formal audience. Nobles, advisors, and palace guards filled the vast hall, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Many still questioned why the child trusted a human, and some openly doubted Alex's intentions. But as he walked with calm confidence, the murmurs began to shift. The court could see his genuine concern and quiet bravery, and it left an impression. One of the queen's advisors, a tall alien with translucent skin and piercing eyes, stepped forward cautiously. "Human," he said, his tone polite but edged with curiosity. "How do you maintain such composure among beings so different from your own?" Alex met his gaze steadily. "I focus on what matters most, protecting someone who cannot protect themselves. That is the same in any world, no matter how different." The advisor paused, clearly considering the words. Slowly he nodded, though his expression remained guarded. Others in the court watched intently, noting the simplicity and truth of Alex's statement. The queen called the gathering to attention. "Today we will observe how my child interacts with those around them," she announced. Her tone carried authority, yet beneath it was a quiet curiosity. She wanted to see if the child's bond with a human would hold under scrutiny, and if Alex's presence would inspire confidence or chaos. Alex led the child forward, careful to keep them close while allowing the court to observe. The child moved with a quiet confidence, staying by Alex's side while he guided them gently, offering words of reassurance and small gestures of comfort. A group of young nobles approached, curious and playful. They tested the child with polite questions and gestures, trying to gauge their reactions. Some expected the child to shy away or follow tradition, yet the child remained calm, responding naturally while occasionally glancing at Alex for support. The queen watched with growing admiration. She had expected unease, perhaps even resistance, but instead saw trust, courage, and intelligence displayed so naturally by the child, qualities Alex had nurtured with his quiet guidance. After the audience, the queen approached Alex privately, her expression unreadable. "You have impressed me," she said finally. "Not through power or status, but through courage and empathy. Explain this, human. How can you understand my child so well?" Alex met her gaze steadily. "I don't fully understand your world," he admitted. "But I know fear, trust, and care. I protect those who need it, no matter who they are. That is something every being can feel, even if their appearance or language is different." The queen considered this, her expression softening. "It seems humans possess qualities we often underestimate," she said quietly. "Perhaps I have judged your kind too quickly." Alex nodded respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only wish to serve and protect." The queen studied him for a moment longer before gesturing toward her child. "You may remain near my child," she said firmly. "Your presence is valuable, though I still do not fully understand why." The child's eyes lit up with relief. "You'll stay with me?" they asked softly. Alex smiled. "As long as you need me." Word of the queen's approval spread quickly through the palace. Some nobles were astonished, others begrudgingly impressed. Alex's actions were slowly reshaping the court's perception of humans, not as fragile outsiders, but as beings capable of bravery, intelligence, and loyalty. Later, Alex and the child walked through a quiet corridor leading to the palace gardens. The air was cool and fragrant with alien flora, and the sunlight highlighted the colors of petals and leaves in ways no human world could replicate. Alex allowed the child to explore a little, picking up small flowers and examining glowing insects. He watched with gentle attention, ready to intervene if danger arose. "Do you like it here?" Alex asked softly. The child nodded. "Yes, but it feels safer with you. Everywhere else, people stare too much." "You're right," Alex said. "Some will watch, but don't let them scare you. They can't harm you while I'm near." As they walked, Alex noticed subtle movements in the shadows, a sign that not everyone in the palace was content with his presence. But he ignored it, focusing instead on keeping the child safe and calm. He had learned to rely on instincts, intuition, and careful observation, tools that had kept humans alive in many dangerous situations, now proving just as useful in an alien palace. By the afternoon, the Queen summoned Alex and the child to her private chambers. The walls were adorned with tapestries depicting great battles and diplomatic victories, a reminder of Gleithar's strength and history. The Queen observed them closely. "You have changed something here," she said finally, her tone measured. "Your presence, your protection. It has influenced the court, the attendants, even my child. Humans are often underestimated, yet you demonstrate qualities that command respect." Alex bowed respectfully. "I do not seek respect," he replied, "only to protect and to ensure your child feels safe." The Queen regarded him quietly for a moment before speaking again. "It seems the child trusts you more than any alien ever has. That is extraordinary. Perhaps it is time for the court to reconsider what they believe about humans." The child, sensing the Queen's softened tone, let go of Alex's hand briefly and approached her. For a moment, the palace seemed to hold its breath. The child's actions, guided by trust in a human, symbolized something new, a bond between species that had previously seemed impossible. "See?" Alex whispered softly to the child. "Trust can change everything." The child smiled shyly, then leaned back toward Alex, holding his hand once more. The Queen watched this quietly, a small smile playing on her lips. She had begun to understand that bravery, loyalty, and care were not bound to any one species. Humans, she realized, possessed something powerful that even her advanced civilization could not replicate: an instinct to protect, to act with empathy, and to inspire courage in others. By evening, news of Alex's actions and the child's trust had spread throughout the palace. Nobles debated quietly, some still skeptical, others intrigued. The Queen's private chambers were filled with advisors discussing the unprecedented human qualities they had witnessed. Alex's calm courage, intelligence, and natural guidance were slowly reshaping perceptions. As night fell, Alex and the child returned to their chamber. The child sat quietly, drawing in an alien script while Alex watched. "You did well today," he said softly. "The Queen, she respects you more than before, and so do many others." The child looked up. "Do you think they will ever understand humans?" Alex smiled gently. "Perhaps not completely, but they are starting to see that humans are strong in ways they never expected." The child leaned against him, exhausted but calm. "I'm glad you're here," they whispered. "And I'll always be here," Alex replied. "No matter what." As the stars of Gleithar shone above the palace towers, the bond between human and child grew stronger. The Queen, watching from afar, allowed herself a moment of reflection. She realized that the events of these days had revealed something extraordinary. A human could not only earn the trust of her child, but also demonstrate qualities that challenged centuries of tradition. The palace may have been shocked, and the court may have whispered endlessly, but one truth was clear. Alex had shown that humans possessed courage, empathy, and intelligence that could inspire trust and loyalty in even the most advanced alien society. And as the night settled over the crystalline towers, one thought lingered in the Queen's mind. Perhaps humans were more remarkable than she had ever imagined. The sun rose slowly over the palace of Gleithar, casting long golden beams through the towering crystalline windows. Alex stood near the balcony, the alien Queen's child beside him, their fingers intertwined with quiet trust. The court had been watching them closely for days, unsure what to make of the human who had earned the heir's confidence so quickly. Yet today felt different. Today the air in the palace carried a sense of change, anticipation, and possibility. The Queen herself observed from her throne, her regal presence commanding attention as always. But there was something new in her eyes, respect and something like hope. She had watched Alex navigate every challenge, protect her child with patience and courage, and demonstrate qualities the aliens often overlooked in humans. She could no longer deny that this human had earned not only the child's trust, but also a place of influence in her court. Alex bent slightly to speak with the child. "Today will be important," he said softly. "Remember, stay close and trust me. No matter what happens, you're safe." The child nodded, a mixture of excitement and nervousness in their eyes. "I trust you," they whispered. "Always." The palace halls were already alive with activity. Nobles, guards, and attendants had gathered to witness an event that was rare even in Glathar, the public acknowledgement of the human's role in the child's life. Whispers filled the corridors, many reflecting amazement at the unusual bond that had formed. Some doubted, some feared, and some admired, but none could ignore it. Alex and the child moved carefully through the halls, their path deliberately visible to the court. The child's confidence had grown, their steps steady and assured as they stayed close to Alex. The court observed quietly, many noting how the human guided the child with calm authority rather than force. A group of advisors approached, speaking in low tones among themselves. One stepped forward hesitantly. "Human," they said, voice polite but firm. "It is unusual for a member of your species to inspire such trust. How do you manage it?" Alex met the alien's gaze evenly. "I focus on what matters most, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. That is the same in any world, any species. I act with care, patience, and courage. That is all it takes." The advisor paused, clearly impressed. He nodded slowly, signaling approval to the others. The court watched the exchange in silence, understanding slowly dawning. This human's presence was no accident. It was a demonstration of qualities aliens had long overlooked: loyalty, empathy, and bravery. The Queen signaled for silence. "Today," she announced, "we acknowledge the courage and wisdom demonstrated by this human. Not by power nor by status, but by trust, protection, and guidance. Let all present understand that courage and loyalty transcend species." The hall erupted in quiet murmurs, a mixture of surprise, admiration, and respect. The child looked up at Alex, their eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" they asked softly. "I did," Alex replied with a gentle smile. "It means they see what I have always known. You are brave, smart, and important." The Queen descended slightly from her throne, approaching Alex and the child. Her presence was calm, yet her authority remained undeniable. "You have changed something here," she said to Alex. "Not by trying, but by being yourself. Your courage and care have shown this court, and my child, that humans are capable of extraordinary loyalty and strength." Alex bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only acted as I would in any situation. Protecting the innocent, guiding those in need, it is what I believe is right." The child stepped forward, holding Alex's hand tightly. "You're the bravest person I know," they whispered. Alex smiled and knelt slightly to meet their gaze. "And you are the most courageous child I have ever met." "You trusted me when others doubted, and that took true bravery." The Queen watched, her expression softened. She realized that this human had accomplished something remarkable. Not only had he earned the child's trust, but he had also influenced the court's perception of humans. The palace was no longer filled with doubt or suspicion. There was respect, curiosity, and perhaps the beginning of understanding. Throughout the day, Alex guided the child through various palace ceremonies, demonstrating care and intelligence. Whenever the child encountered uncertainty or fear, Alex was there to reassure, to gently direct, and to encourage. His presence became a living example of the human qualities the Queen admired: patience, bravery, and empathy. By mid-afternoon, the palace had gathered in the main hall for a formal address. The child stood beside Alex, visibly proud yet calm. The Queen's voice resonated through the hall. "Let all who are present witness this day. Let them understand that trust, courage, and loyalty are qualities that surpass species boundaries. Today, a human has proven that these virtues can inspire greatness in even the youngest among us." The courtiers exchanged stunned looks, some bowing in respect, others whispering among themselves. The message was clear: humans were not to be underestimated. Alex's calm presence, guidance, and courage had demonstrated something profound that even the most advanced alien society could not replicate fully: the ability to inspire trust, protect the vulnerable, and act with integrity under pressure. Later in the palace gardens, Alex and the child walked quietly among glowing plants and alien flowers. The soft hum of machinery in the distance mixed with the natural sounds of the garden, creating an atmosphere of serenity. The child looked up at him. "Do you think they will ever understand humans fully?" Alex smiled gently. "Maybe not fully, but they are starting to see what is important. Courage, loyalty, and care. Those are universal. They've seen it through you and through me." The child nodded, leaning slightly against Alex. "I'm glad you are here. I feel safe, like I never did before." And that's how it should be, Alex said softly. Safety, trust, and courage. That is what makes us strong, no matter where we come from. As evening fell, the Queen summoned them once more. She regarded Alex with a thoughtful expression. You have accomplished something few could, she said. You have not only protected my child, but also earned the respect of this court. Your actions have demonstrated qualities we did not expect from humans. I am impressed, Alex bowed respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty. I do not seek recognition. I only wish to act rightly and protect those who cannot protect themselves. The Queen's eyes softened further. It is rare to see such honesty, courage, and care, perhaps. We have underestimated humans for too long. The child, standing beside Alex, smiled shyly. I knew you were special, they whispered. Alex knelt slightly. And I knew you were brave, smart, and strong. Together, we've shown them what matters most. Trust and courage. The court, having observed the day's events, began to acknowledge the significance of the human's presence. Whispers turned to nods, doubt to respect, and curiosity to admiration. Alex's actions, simple yet profound, had changed the perception of humans in a palace that had long seen them as outsiders. By nightfall, the palace quieted, and the child sat beside Alex in their chamber. Do you think it will always be like this? The child asked softly. Not always, Alex replied. But as long as we remember courage, trust, and loyalty, we can face whatever comes next, and we will face it together. The child leaned against him, comforted by his calm presence. I trust you, they whispered. And I will never betray that trust, Alex said gently. You are safe, always. Outside, the stars of Glathar shone brightly, reflecting off the crystalline towers of the palace. The Queen observed quietly from her chambers, a small smile on her lips. She had witnessed something extraordinary, a human whose courage, intelligence, and empathy had earned the trust of her child and influenced her court. It was clear now that humans possessed qualities her society had overlooked for centuries. Courage, loyalty, and care were not bound by species. They were universal virtues, and in the hands of one human they could inspire, protect, and change a world. As Alex and the child rested for the night, the palace finally felt a sense of calm and respect. The bond between human and child had become a symbol, a reminder that bravery, empathy, and loyalty could transcend worlds, species, and expectations, and in that moment, one truth was undeniable. The day the alien queen's child ran and hid behind a human had changed everything. Not just for the child, not just for Alex, but for the entire palace. The court had seen the power of trust, courage, and protection, and the legacy of this human's actions would be remembered for generations. The palace, once filled with whispers of doubt and suspicion, now carried a quiet acknowledgement of human potential. And as the night deepened, the stars above Glathar seemed to shine a little brighter, reflecting a new understanding that had begun to take root. That humans, though outsiders, could be a force for courage, trust, and hope in even the most advanced alien society.